then Grandpa wanted he was very keen to get a six-cylinder car, and a sedan, and they bought a little whippet with Tudor Collins, but he'd done it too much mileage in it. They had that for quite a while, and then they had a Dodge, a Chrysler, but they never came out of the 20s. It took them till 1939 before they bought a brand new Ford V8 Deluxe in 1939, and all that time they'd only moved from a 26 car to a 29 car. They had 26 and 28 and a 29 Whippet and a 29 Chrysler 66. When I was a kid, still am really, when I was a kid, I can remember playing cricket on the cricket pitch at Martin's Back, and just remember them, and the thing I can remember most about is that we had a big watermelon there, and I might have been 3, I may not have been, because the dad and his brother, they were out at Whangareo in the mounted rifles, and a lot of people, there was about 35 or 40 of them out there, and they used to go out in twos, and they used to patrol Parkery Beach from Tiaro Point to the end of Takatuki. They used to patrol it on horseback to just check if any Japanese, stuff, and then they had to signal back. They had signal places, and people jumped in the signal places and signal back. When the Americans came, that ceased to be because they were here, and Dad went into the Navy, and Uncle Steve came back. And I think Brian's father and Uncle and Grandpa must have done the milking. Don't know, but some of those farms, like Norma Miller and Kerry Miller and all that, Norma Miller's father, Norman Reeve, lived out at Matakana up by the Sugarloaf there. They were all in that camp. And those guys only had one guy. He didn't have a father or anyone. His wife milked they'd start a flaming diesel or Anderson engine to milk the cows. Had to get the cream onto a sledge to get it out to the road in cans. Mrs. Laurie was the same out here, and Mrs. Gunston. And those women did a terrific job. I don't know how they did it. And I think they might have spilled them a bit. I think they might have might have needed 30 and they had 40 there, and they came home on leave a bit. They'd ride home here. But and all around the paddocks, and especially the areas a little bit of bush along down, he'd go out and up the hill and then head towards Walker from the top of Alexander Road where the store used to be. And on the right down there was pine trees all down the side. And they had little bunkers they'd made, And I found a pipe in one time I used to go around and the mouth mum wasn't it. The police said, you don't know who's had it in there. But, and they were camp days, small camp, and they had these amphibian tanks, and they used to drive across past their base. But they had a big camp out the road, and then my first year in Standard 1 or whatever that is, year 1 I suppose, yeah. And my teacher, her father was her father was the man in charge of the camp out there, Story. She taught you in 1945. She waited, and when they were all off, she came and had a chat with me. And see, I was only supposed to live till about 10 or 11. And Story, she was asking how you were and were you still alive. And so I wrote back. And so she was a little bit interested in the fact that here I was 45. I could remember having my 45th birthday. I'd been about 46 by then, so I was still alive. Now I'm 82 and I'm still alive. I was one of the very first to have open heart surgery, and Mum got me in because they knew the doctor, the surgeon. But, well, this is quite different down here. We had big wild pine trees up there, and it's flat. This has all been filled up. Here's but there. And we used to come over that little bridge over there, along here, and the cow shed was along that flat, the other side of Matt's, and that's where we milked. But the original cow shed was just this side of the creek. But when Uncle Steve built his house, which is not very far from where Vince's is, they shifted the cow, built a new cow shed there, and a bigger one. His father came down here, and he was when Dad died, he was died in 1998. He was 88, so he died in 98. He was born in 1910. He said, one of his stories, he said, all the road was bracken on the side of the road from the top of the hill down opposite the store and down to around the corner there. He said they decided it was time to get rid of this bracken. So the vehicle they chose to go up there was Mr. Jack's brand new Ford V8, dark, almost black maroon. He said they parked it up there, and he said they were working down there. They said the way to remove the stuff was to burn it. Anyway, they were working down the hill about halfway, and suddenly they could see the stuff got away, and it was getting up towards Mr. Jack's. That's why it was called Grandpa, Mr. Jack. Mr. Jack's brand new V8. They said to me, "Can you drive? No, can you run? Can you drive?" I said, "Affirmative to both." He was about 14, and he said, "Well, get up there and shift that gas." And he said he got up there, and the flames were just coming around it. I've heard him tell the story. And he said he backed it out. But Dad talked. The road was clay in there, and Dad used to, he and his father had bullocks, and they'd take the bullocks. His father lived at Snell's Beach on the top of the hill where you'd go down, and he'd go through with the bullocks, and he said, come the end of the winter, the road would be a mess, and he used to go through with the harrows and harrow it a bit, and it was starting to harden up, and then he used to tow a log with the horses, tow a log behind him and try and level it out. And he used to go around to the book, and another chap from Rowe, from Hamilton's Road, he used to do, and he said, then it'd rain or something, or something, he'd go through the box, and he said, man, he said he spent some time towing the log up and down through there. But that, where that treatment station is for the water, that was Wallace's Cutting, later became Porridge Bend. They used to call it Porridge Bend because it was always muddy and getting through there, and the road was a mess. And that was the thing that stopped them getting out. And he said one time they came home from a holiday and they got stuck. They couldn't get through there. So they walked home to the boarding house down here. Next day, Grandpa took a couple of horses and they went round, and Grandpa towed the car out and through it to the rest of the road, which was still clay, but it was drivable. And Uncle Steve said, Merv drove the car home, and Grandpa said to him, wait when you get to wait there, because there's a bit of a dip there and it's all muddy. Wait until he arrives with the horses, and then he'll pull it up to the top of the hill. And he used to have a shed up on the top of the hill there where he kept the car. And anyway, Uncle Steve and Dad reckoned, they'd have a go at getting us through. And he said, Uncle Steve said, Dad got it up and drove up the side of the road in the bracken. And when Grandpa arrived, this would be probably the whippet that would have been. All the mud guards had been scratched by the bracken on the road. And Grandpa was not amused. But yeah, things things were different. And I'll tell you what, you'll say, I can remember when the road was only 2 lane out here and no footpaths and stuff. The school bus started probably about 5 or 6 years before Mrs. Hamlin. They had where Browns have got down in Hyde Farm, they lived down there. And she fought for the school bus, and the school bus used to come and used to stop at the top of the hill where you turn off to go down to the Hedgewood. The road wasn't metalled from there down to the heads. They didn't do that for just... Well, Lloyd Laurie, I was talking to him the other day, he's 4 years older than me, and he said he can remember them forming that road. So he used to walk, he and his wife, sister used to walk up to the top of the hill and catch the school bus at the top of the hill. And there's no one coming from down there. Then Colin Kemp. And, there's quite a few kids. We had a little bus and it had doors like a car on the side. It used to come in from the